اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala had never meant that this world should be what is called the Jannah of man. This world was never going to have a length which would go towards the end. From the beginning it was announced that this world is a small exam. It will come to an end. This world will be wrapped up. This world has no significance in the eyes of Almighty Allah. The happiness of this world gets finished very fast. The wealth of this world runs out very fast. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he described it as a jail to the believers. He also described it as a world of drought. Drought is that no matter what is in this world, it will never be enough. Our needs, our desires will never get satiated. Whatever a person wants to find, he'll always say, if I just get one more, then I will be okay. In a world of drought, one more will never be enough. In a world of drought, man has to say, I am happy, finished. I am content, that's the end. If it is a world of whatever I want, I must get, that is in Jannah. In this world is whatever I need must be fulfilled. Needs must get fulfilled, wants will never get fulfilled. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also described this world as a world of imtihan, fitan, trials and tribulations. And in that he explained that the greatest test that Allah Tabarak Ta'ala has kept for this world, from the time of Nabi Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, a greater test has not been seen than he would say it is known as the test of Dajjal. And then he would say, and that test will come out in my ummah. And in different manners he would describe it. He had a worry that that ummah, that believing boy and girl, who started off in a Muslim house, who went to a maktab, who learned how to read Quran, who stayed in the company of pious people, whose grandfather, great-grandfather was the mufti of the town. There was the fear that in that very house, that individual, when no one ever thought he will be grabbed by the devil, such an exam will come on this ummah, that where you never thought the person will be grabbed, he'll be grabbed. It was this worry that Sahaba radiallahu anhum, whenever they heard of the fitna of Dajjal, they became worried. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then gave certain guidance. After explaining how terrible the fitan will be, he gave certain rules, guidance. In the world of medicine, they say if you're treating a sickness, they call it an holistic approach. That hit the issue from all sides, yourself from every angle. The fitan of Dajjal is going to be something which is not small. And it's going to hit people who never expected to be hit. It's going to grab families where you never thought that family will be grabbed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when the fitan, the trial will be so severe, that a man will lock up his child. That was understood. Children will always get caught up. He said, when a man will lock up his wife in the house, knowing at night she also wants to go out. We have entered an era where we are seeing certain things like this. Where the wife no longer trusts, forget the children. Where the children know mommy and daddy are up to their own stories. Never shout us now, they got their own stories. We are entering into a time where doubts, where we never thought it will come to the individual. At the past you had to go looking for trouble. We reached the era where trouble comes looking for us. During that era, and the era will get even worse, it is normally known as you come closer to the final. That's when the best team will do what it has to do. Shaitan had asked Almighty Allah for grace. And he would say, I will prove to you that all of your slaves will become mine. I will pull them into my trap. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala granted him grace. As time is running out, this world was never meant to be forever. There was going to be a time which was called the end. The final collapse will come with the coming of Nabi Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. Perhaps about 7 to 10 years before that will be what is known as the emergence of the Mahdi. During that time it will not be the easiest for every believer. Where the Muslim Ummah will start standing up in a unique manner, the shaitani world will also stand up in a unique manner. When a final is on, you have the two best teams. In the army of the Mahdi you will have the best. But the best does not mean every Muslim will be in that army. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about the camps. He said, as we will go closer to the final hour, there will be a camp of Imaan in which there will be no hypocrisy at all. Every one of us have to look at ourselves, will I be in that camp? It will not be on that day in your application form they'll ask, do you make tawbah from hypocrisy now, then enter the camp? That individual will walk in that camp who has no hypocrisy. It cannot be I'm a Muslim by name, but my inclination is so much to the world. If an error we find, and perhaps we will find that error, where a call is made in the world, at that time the first thing the mind will go to is, if I have to go in that land, if I have to go in that direction, what about my investments? Will I be able to secure? Perhaps the thought will be, if I have to go towards that land, where will I live? What about the house that I'm so used to? Will somebody else take it over? In Islamic Tariq, the first thing we speak about, and it's a unique, what is called history, will one day repeat itself. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's effort took place in Makkah Mukarramah. It was a 13-year effort. The climax of the 13-year effort was now going to live and go to Medina. We speak about it, we say it's the hijrat. We say what a hijrat it was. We said how they left everything. Who was going to stay back in Makkah Mukarramah? It was one who did not have rusukh, was not firm in Iman. They had to leave their wealth, they had to leave their houses. For many of them, that family who was not ready to come with them, they had to leave that family. They had to make a journey across lands where they never know if I will be attacked as I am going. When they reached Medina Munawwara, it was known as the greatest amal in your life, the hijrah. Now they had one more worry, Allah do not ever break this hijrah. They had so much of concern that even if they went back to Makkah Mukarramah, who will not want to die in Makkah Mukarramah? But they did not want to die. They would say passing away in Makkah Mukarramah is like a sign that Allah never accepted my hijrah. Greatest amal in their life was to move. History will one day repeat itself. Muslims from the world will one day be asked, are you ready for that hijrah? أَوَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً. There will be an Islamic state that will be established, but everyone will not be ready to go to the state. When there will be a camp of Iman in which there will be absolutely no hypocrisy. Our dua has to be from now, Allah allow me to move in that direction. But to make a move in the future, it means planning from the present. We cannot be so gripped in this world that when that era comes, then I say, I rather stay back. He said, then there will be a camp in which there will be hypocrisy, there will be no Iman in that camp. He was not speaking of a non-Muslim camp, he was speaking of a Muslim camp. But because of hypocrisy, there will be no Iman. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave some guidelines. That if an individual wants to stand up against the greatest exam that the world will ever see, it is very easy points. It is nothing really hard. It was not said that now you'll have to do every day 1,000 push-ups. Make sure you do your weights. Make sure you're running around the town 2 and 3 kilometers. When Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave guidelines, it was so simple that when you would look at it, you'll wonder, with such a simple remedy, how will I fight against the greatest exam that the world will ever see? But that was the beauty of Islam. It was known as a battle between light, ruhaniyat, spirituality, and darkness. Darkness was known as material power. This was known as spiritual power. Darkness was known, material power was known as darkness. This was known as light. The power of light over darkness, the whole world saw it. Everything is dark and then the sun just rises. The rising of the sun changes the whole world. Light is put on. One light takes away all darkness. The power of light over darkness was always known. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked his ummah to create a certain light. This light has to come in. To create that light, he gave the following guidelines. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, number one, that we must never ever be lax in asking Almighty Allah for aid. We do it when we say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. But because it has become so automatic on our tongue, whether the Imam reads it or I read it, we don't bother of the meaning. It means there's a straight road. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, on every point of the road there's a devil who is trying to pull. He knows what catches the person, what grabs the person. There are so many turns I have to go past. On every turn there's a chance of a pull. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. One meaning is, Allah, show me the path. A better meaning for me and you is, Allah, let me reach my destination. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. It is known isal ila al-matlub. That can I also be pulled to my destination? When the Imam will read it today at least, once a day at least, when we hear Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, have a feeling that I need to reach a destination. There are a lot of devils, and amongst them there is the worst, which is known as the fitna of Dajjal. Where will I be to be able to be one not in those millions, who will just manage to avoid every fall and reach my destination? Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if Dajjal comes out, when I am amongst you, I will stand in your defense. He said, but if he comes out, وَلَسْتُ فِيكُمْ, and I am not present, then every man will have to look after himself. He said, وَاللَّهُ خَلِيفَتِي عَلَى كُلِّ Muslim. I ask Almighty Allah to be the protector of every believer. Me and you must also ask. He asked for us, we must ask for us. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. But what feeling? Number two, Wasallam spoke about the company of the pious. Beautifully he mentioned, if Dajjal has to come out, وَأَنَا حَيٌّ, and I am alive in that era, Almighty Allah will suffice you through me. وَإِن يَخْرُجْ بَعْدَ أَنْ أَمُوتْ, and if he has to come out after my demise, then he says, Almighty Allah will suffice you through the pious. يَكْفِيكُهُمُ اللَّهُ بِالصَّالِحِينَ, to create a relationship with the pious. Never to feel we are independent of someone more pious than us. In Surah Kahf, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ. There are those people who are connected with Almighty Allah. Day and night, when everyone else is involved in their worldly occupations, you will see them, you will know them, that the occupation of the day and the night is only to turn to Allah. Almighty Allah in Surah Kahf said, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ. It might not be easy on me and you, but hold yourself in that company. You'll have to take out time, person around you. If the Nabi of Allah was alive, Allah would have sufficed us through him. He says, and if Dajjal comes out when I am not present, then Allah will look after you through the pious. But me and you will have to create that connection with the pious. So one is asking Almighty Allah for aid, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. One is creating a link with the pious before it is too late. Number 3, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, stay far. There will be many new things coming out. Whenever something new comes, it's attractive. Everyone wants to know what it is. Everyone will want to say, I'll be the first to go. There will be new cities, new entertainments, new attractions. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever hears regarding Dajjal, which will mean some temptation or the other of Dajjal, let him stay far. He says, by Allah, a man will approach Dajjal, directly or indirectly, understanding himself to be a believer, وَهُوَ يَحْسِبُ أَنَّهُ مُؤْمِنٌ. Like what we say, I know my limits. فَيَتَّبِعُهُ مِمَّا يَبْعَثُ بِهِ مِنَ الشُّبُهَاتِ. But when he will fall in that trap, when he will start seeing all those doubts, those temptations, those tricks, that magic which Dajjal has, he says he will also walk his walk. He says, by Allah, a man will go to him, understanding himself to be a believer. But when he will see what Dajjal has with him, he will also walk his walk. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala save us all. To be able to pull ourselves away where everyone is walking front. To say, I don't need to be the first to experiment. I don't need to be the first to go into that village, to go into that city. Where I am safe. I will take my steps very slowly. And the final is what is known as the climax, the height of the power against Dajjal, which is known as Surah Kahf. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke a lot of the surah. He said, whoever memorizes the first 10 verses of Surah Kahf, he will be protected from Dajjal. He said, whoever finds Dajjal, he should recite the beginning verses of Surah Kahf, beginning 10 verses, beginning 3 verses. Whoever recites the last 10 verses of Surah Kahf, he will be protected from Dajjal. He said, whoever recites Surah Kahf, it will create a light for him till the day of Qiyamah, stretching from where he stands right up to Makkah Mukarramah. He said, if one reads the last 10 verses of Surah Kahf, even if Dajjal emerges in his time, he said, whoever is afflicted with the fire of Dajjal, which will mean the anger, the war, the temptations, let him seek aid from Almighty Allah. Let him recite the beginning. This will cool down for him the fire of Dajjal, which means it will make the test easy. Just as Almighty Allah had cooled the fire for Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. He fell in the fire, it never burnt him. Me and you are going to find ourselves in this fire. We also get burnt. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala in His kindness, the barakah of the day of Jummah, keep us all on the path. Allah, let us all reach our destination. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Allah grant every one of us connection with the pious. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq to recite Surah Kahf, the entire surah on the day of Jummah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.